What is going on, people? Mark from Double Clutch Auto Reviews here, and thank you all so much again for tuning in for another review video. Today, I'm going to give you guys a voiceover walk-around tour to show you guys what it's like to spend the day with this absolutely stunning 2021 Ferrari SF90 Stradale. The SF in the name stands for Scuderia Ferrari, Ferrari's racing team, and the 90 honors the racing team's 90th anniversary from 1929 to 2019. This is certainly a special car, and I'm very lucky to have gotten my hands on it, and I have to thank none other than Ferrari of New England for letting me do this walk-around tour for you guys today. They are the only official Ferrari dealer located in the Metro Boston and general New England area here on Route 1 on the Automile in Norwood, Massachusetts. If you'd like to come check out their amazing inventory of all these beautiful cars they have here, come on down and check them out and tell them Mark from Double Clutch Auto Reviews sent you. I'll put all their contact information, including their website links, phone numbers, and address in the description below. Diving headfirst into the epic SF90 Stradale. This is Ferrari's hypercar that's a tier above the 812 Superfast and the 812 GTS chassis, and below the limited production models like the F40, F50, the Enzo, the LaFerrari, etc. It has a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8 engine, which is a revised version of the engine in the 488 Pista and the F8 Tributo cars, paired with 3 electric motors, 1 in the rear and 2 in the front, 1 on each wheel in the front, for a combined total horsepower output of 986 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. 769 horsepower coming from the twin-turbo V8 and 217 horsepower coming from all the electric motors. This is the most powerful Ferrari produced to date, and it rockets from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. And during some test runs, they have shown that this car can get closer to around the 2-second range, 0 to 60. Absolutely bananas. And that immense amount of power is sent to all 4 wheels via the newly revised 8-speed dual clutch transmission, which is 22 pounds lighter and shifts up to 30% faster than the pre-existing 7-speed dual clutch. And the reason that Ferrari could make this transmission that much better is due to the lack of a reverse gear that was in the 7-speed, because the electric motors in this car take care of the reverse gear. This new 8-speed dual clutch only has the forward gears. Very interesting little fun fact. And now let's dive into the engine bay, which looks amazing, of course, typical of any Ferrari really. What's a Ferrari without an incredible looking engine bay? What's interesting is that it's kind of hard to see because it's mounted so low, as you can tell. It's unfortunate that you can't see it as clearly because it looks so dang cool. However, that comes with a much better trade-off by reducing the car's center of gravity tremendously by mounting all of the weight of the engine as low as possible inside the chassis. That essentially allows for better performance in every dynamic, especially handling and braking. And it is laden with all of this beautiful carbon fiber all over it. Looks amazing. And you can see the dry sump right there in the middle where you would add the engine oil. That's kind of a Ferrari staple that's been in their engine design for decades now. When the hatch is closed, you can still see it through the glass just a little bit, which is kind of important when you spend this much money on a hypercar. You want to be able to see the powertrain, even when the hatch is closed, am I right? The funny thing is there's no hydraulic hood props because this SF90 Stradale has the Assetto Fiorano weight-saving package, and I'm pretty sure that's part of the weight savings you get. You have to have a manual hood prop instead. Next, we'll talk about this car's exterior styling. I think it's incredible, of course. Every bit of it looks the part of a hypercar. It checks all the boxes. Every angle is sculpted. Such strong, ferocious angles. It almost looks like a bird of prey to me if I were to describe it as an animal. And just look at the rear end of this thing. This diffuser is off the hook. It is absolutely menacing. I would look at this and immediately know that this thing means business. I know that some people don't necessarily like the front end. That's been rather controversial, the way that it kind of comes down to a point, but I think it works with this car. Some of them do come with the option of that painted arrow-like stripe on the front. I personally am not a fan of that style. It kind of accentuates the front end in all the wrong ways, in my opinion. However, this one that I'm showing you guys today, I feel like looks stunning. Instead, it has this kind of U-shaped black painted stripe. Certainly accentuates the body lines in a much more appealing fashion, in my opinion. Atop with all this gorgeous carbon fiber all over the car that you get with the Assetto Fiorano package, it just really wraps it up nicely. Speaking of what you get with that package, the Assetto Fiorano package is a weight savings option that shaves 66 pounds off of this car. And what you get with that very expensive option include a racing-derived multi-matic suspension system, a lightweight titanium exhaust, carbon fiber, as I said earlier, all over the car and even the undercarriage, and these absolutely gorgeous 20-inch carbon fiber wheels with 255s up front and 315s in the rear. And now before jumping inside, let's take a look at the key. It is rather expensive and fancy looking, which is expected, I guess, but nonetheless worth pointing out. On one side it has a beautiful metal Ferrari badge, and on the other side it has the nice leather with the unlock, frunk opening, and lock button. Push that button twice to open up the frunk. Now climbing inside the frunk, you'll notice that we have a few interesting things up here. First obvious thing is this big red bag. That's actually the car cover that comes with it. Second is this glass panel that has some of the hybrid electric components clearly visible with the acronym RACE imprinted below it. This is supposed to stand for Rotation Axis Control Electric, which is Ferrari's name for their torque vectoring system on their hybrid chassis. Sure, I guess that technically makes sense, but I just think that they wanted to come up with some corny way to use the acronym RACE in their car. I will admit though, it looks pretty cool on display. Let's be real. Next, looking up at the hood, you can clearly see that this car is pretty much entirely carbon fiber. I mean, look at that. That weave is absolutely beautiful. So cool to see that under here. You can also see the sticker down below confirming the original paint color of this car. Don't worry, I will spare all of you and not try to pronounce this, but there it is. And now we'll take out the car cover, which is actually very, very soft, as to be expected. See what else we have in the front trunk right here. First off, we'll take a look at this pouch. This is the SF90 Stradale's charging cable. And of course it has to have the Ferrari emblem embossed on it. I don't even want to know how much a replacement for this thing costs if you lose it or run it over and break it or something. Guarantee you this car does not take any other cord besides a Ferrari charging cord. Now let's take a look at the front license plate mounting bracket. I hope no one ever has to use this thing. As far as I'm concerned, throw that right in the trash. Next we'll take a look at this very nice leather pouch. Opening it up, you can see that there are several owner's manuals and whatnot inside of it. Quick reference guide that shows you everything you need to know about your SF90. What I found that was very interesting though was this first responders guide. Check this out. This is a little card that shows you where all of the critical components of this car are located. This is great and all, but I can just picture pulling up to a scene with this Ferrari on fire saying, let me look for that first responders guide. Next we have this portable fix-a-flat kit, which is of course very useful if you absolutely need it. However, I would not want to have to use this on these beautiful carbon fiber wheels, because if that has some kind of slime gunk in it that clogs up a leak, I would not want to clean those wheels. Moving on, we find the SF90 Stradale's toolkit. Ferraris have always provided a toolkit in their cars, so I think they do this just for heritage sake. Nonetheless, this is what it looks like. We have a small funnel in case you need to top off the engine oil. Rather useful, I will admit. We also have an array of fuses. We have the tow hook adapter, a little screwdriver and whatnot, but the piece de resistance of this entire toolkit are these white gloves, probably sized between a small and a medium on the small side with the Ferrari logo on the back of them. Can you just imagine trying to repair your Ferrari Hypercar on the side of the road wearing these gloves? Yeah, I couldn't either. And the last thing noteworthy up front, take a look at this plaque that has the personalization specifications on it. Ferrari does this with all of their models. If you want to read this more in depth, you can pause the video right here. Nonetheless, this shows all of the options that you had picked for your Ferrari. I'm sure all of them cost a lot. And now climbing into this beautiful car. To open the door, you depress this part of the latch and the door pops open for you. And the first thing you can see is you are greeted with loads of carbon fiber everywhere. Above the very small driver's door cubby, there are 3 buttons, one for the frunk, one for the fuel door, and the last for the plug-in hybrid fuel door. You push it, you can see it flies right open for you. What's cool about this car having 2 fuel doors, one on each side, is essentially like a race car, am I right? But one is for the hybrid powertrain, the other is for the gasoline. Next, just take a gander at this door panel. Oh my god, it is so gorgeous. We have the glossy carbon fiber on top of the matte finish carbon fiber. It is just absolutely stunning. And of course we have the Assetto Fiorano badge right in the door sill to remind you how much extra you paid for all of that carbon fiber and weight savings. And just look at these bucket seats. Wow, talk about a race car for the street, am I right? They are pretty much entirely carbon fiber except for the padding, which is of course gorgeous Ferrari leather. And I wouldn't want to take this car on a really long road trip. However, just sitting in them for the time that I spent with this car, they are rather comfortable. They hug you nicely, but it's not like you can't move at all inside them. Looking down in the passenger footwell, we have the fire extinguisher mounted right here, and of course it's wrapped in this ever so luxurious leather case with these leather wrapped straps on it as well. Have to keep it opulent looking, of course. This is a Ferrari after all, but nonetheless a very useful item to have in any vehicle, really. Next, I'll show you how to pull the seat forward. You pull this leather strap right here, and the back of the seat folds forward. As you can see, the entire thing is all carbon fiber. Looks so cool back here. And if you look behind the seat, you'll see that there's this rather convenient little storage section right here. It's not that big, but it'll get the job done since there's pretty much no other storage in this interior. And if you pull the passenger seat forward, you can see that we have the child seat anchor mount right here. What a lucky kid that would be to sit in that seat. And now sitting inside the SF90 Stradale, this is obviously probably one of the coolest and highest end interiors that I've ever personally sat in. This is what you get when you spend potentially $700,000 plus on a modern Ferrari. And the engine start stop button isn't actually a button, it's a capacitive touch screen. I'll show you what it's like to start up. Just tap it and not hold the brake to turn the ignition on, so to speak, and not start the vehicle. We have these exquisitely crafted, gorgeous carbon fiber shift paddles, and of course the steering wheel has an excellent 9-3 grip. And you can use this capacitive touch directional pad, so to speak, to cycle through all of your menus in the gauge cluster, including your vehicle vital signs and all the other information that you want displayed. We have maximum speed, average speed, total distance, and a G-force meter, of course. You can cycle through pretty much everything that you would need in your gauge cluster, your radio, your navigation, and if you push navigation, you can see that the map takes over the entire gauge cluster screen, giving you full view of what you can see with the map here. You can also push ViewMax again, and that cycles to a more streamlined focused tachometer with a G-force meter on the right and a speedometer on the left. I also absolutely love how the turn signals work in this car. They're mounted right at 9 and 3, and you can either push in with your thumb or hit them down with your index finger. And they don't get in the way of the paddle shifters. Very neat design. You push this button on the bottom left side of the steering wheel to turn your headlights on. I find that hilarious. And if you push these buttons right here, they all light up, and the top one shows all of your drive modes. You turn this dial to the right to whatever drive mode you want, and it cycles through in real time on the gauge cluster. How cool does that look? The switch also feels very high-end, and it really makes you feel like you're in a truly special car. And if we look to the left, where typically the headlight controls would be, these are where your mirror controls are mounted. You push that button to obviously extend the mirrors out or fold them back in, and the buttons below that indicate which mirror you want to adjust, to the right or the left. And you can see using the capacitive touch directional pad, you can adjust it right here. And over to the right, we have our climate controls. You can see I'm adjusting the fan speed, and then it shows up in the gauge cluster in real time. I will admit, these are not very intuitive and they're a little laggy, but with some time, you'll get used to them. And to the right of that capacitive touch screen, we have yet another screen. Shocker, right? In the SF90 Stradale, nonetheless, we have this beautiful carbon fiber and that awesome looking badge up top. This is our radio screen, and you can see we can cycle through everything right here. Nothing too fancy. Yet again, it is a little laggy and not really intuitive. With time though, you'll get used to it. You can also adjust the climate controls via this touch screen. This is more so for the passenger, but I guess the driver can use it too. As you can see though, like, for some reason high isn't displayed correctly. Ferrari has some bugs to work out. I think the coolest part of this little center screen though is the performance icon. You can see your tachometer, speedo, what gear you're in, how much battery life you have left in the hybrid powertrain. That's all pretty cool for the passenger to see. And if you don't want to look at it, you can just turn it off with this button right here. Next, we'll take a gander down below all those screens and look at this tiny little storage compartment. Hey, it's better than nothing, right? And of course we get one cup holder, yet again, better than nothing. We have our gear selector mechanism and our hazard switch right above that. The gear selector is very interesting. This is reverse. The PS stands for power start, apparently, and that would be like launch control. And the A is for automatic, and the M is for manual, of course. This is supposed to emulate what the gated shifter used to look like. Below that, we have the window switches. And behind those in the center console, we have a very odd but rather convenient small little storage compartment to put your key so you can keep it there tucked away safely and look at it while you drive your Ferrari Hypercar. Moving behind that, we have another little storage compartment. It's like a center console, which would be pretty convenient, but there's no top to it. Whatever. Not really necessary, I guess. And inside of it, we have a 12-volt outlet and a USB port. And lastly, when you shut off the SF90 Stradale, this screen displays, and it's called My Drive, giving you all the statistics of the drive that you just went on. I'm also a big fan of the holographic, so to speak, sort of image of the SF90 Stradale spinning around on an imaginary Lazy Susan. I find this to certainly add to the special experience of this car. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up my review on this absolutely stunning and immensely powerful 2021 Ferrari SF90 Stradale. I have to thank Ferrari of New England and Bach Exotics so much for letting me review this car for you guys today. If you want to come check them out, they are located on Route 1, the Automile in Norwood, Massachusetts. I will put all of their contact information, including their website links, phone numbers, and address in the description below. Take care, stay safe out there, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.